Hey, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. So, I wanted to come back with a very different type of video, but it was inspired by a sub conversation that I saw brewing underneath my Lucci and Regine video. So, as you know, Lucci is basically being charged with a felony murder in his connection to the death of a man named James Adams. James Adams was actually one of his boys, and they were involved in a drive-by shooting, which resulted in James Adams getting shot in the head and ultimately dying, okay? And basically, Lucci and his boys are accused of throwing the dead man or the dying man out of his SUV. Lucci is accused of being the driver, but he's also being charged with felony murder because that's how it works. If you were involved in the crime and it results in death, you too will be charged. So that was the basic conversation of the other video, but I saw people talking about the 911 audio that had been played, and a lot of people felt like the 911 dispatch was very unprofessional and very rude to the woman that called the witness. So I'm going to go ahead and play the full audio for you guys, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. We're going to continue this conversation. So let me play the full audio for you guys, okay?
That's a 911 for the 2679. What's the address of your emergency?
We need an ambulance. Somebody is laying out. Somebody, I don't know if he barely.
Let me connect you. Stay on the line.
Somebody just threw him out of the car.
Let me connect you to the ambulance.
Huh? He's still trying to fight for his life.
EMS, what's the address of the emergency?
Baby, can y'all please get an ambulance here? This man is dying. He's shot in the head. He just took his last breath, man.
What street are you on, ma'am? Can you give him your location, please, for the ambulance to give the guy some help?
What is his address? Man, this man just took his last breath, man.
Man, we have help on the way already. Tell me exactly what happened.
We don't know. Me and my sister, we were just walking down the street, and somebody just rolled down the street with a man hanging out of the car. They just pushed him out the truck and left him for dead.
Ma'am, I thought you said he was shot in the head.
Yes, he is shot in the head. They threw him out the car. He just died. He just took his last breath.
We have the ambulance already on the way, okay?
Okay.
And can you tell me what color vehicle? Listen, you go ahead and get fire and PD and round. Can you tell me what color vehicle he was stolen from, please?
White.
A white car, truck, or SUV?
SUV.
What direction did the SUV
Yes,
go?
his whole body was just hanging out the car.
Listen, just stay on the phone. Can you tell me if you saw any of the people that were driving the car, whether they adults or kids?
They were driving real fast. We seen.
All right.
Okay, so you guys have heard the audio of the entire 911 call that was posted all over online, okay? Because on my video, I only posted a little bit of it, but that's the entirety of it, okay? Now, before we get into the actual back and forth about people feeling like the 911 operator was rude and she didn't do her job and they were really, nonchalant about it, can I just say that I saw, not under my video, but I've seen a lot of people prioritizing how this woman, the witness, was speaking over the fact that she just witnessed something traumatic. Black trauma is a thing, and we have got to stop making fun of it. I don't care how she spoke. I don't care how she said her words. The point is that this woman witnessed something. She witnessed a man dying in the street, taking his last breath, and that is going to haunt her for a really long time. So I just don't find anything humorous about how she was speaking and things like that, because we've got to stop making light of people, Black people, going through traumatic events. It's real, and we get screwed up in our heads with it. So we've got to do that. So let's now move into some of the comments that I saw all over the blogs when the audio was played. A lot of people felt like the dispatch was wrong, right? The way they were talking to her, the way they were asking her questions, a lot of them felt like they were doing too much and they just didn't care. They were ignorant, they were ghetto. I've seen all of the comments, okay? They had an attitude, their tone was, I've seen it all. I've seen both sides of it, but I'm going to just kind of, as you're going to see a lot of the comments basically saying that they felt like the 911 dispatch was just not compassionate enough, and that they were ghetto, and that they were speaking to her in a rude and ignorant way. Okay. And that's something that I didn't see people specifically saying that in my comments, but there was a conversation brewing as to how people felt about how the 911 dispatch handled this phone call. There were some people that felt like that they sounded like they just didn't even care. They just sounded like they didn't want to do their job. They didn't want to be there. They didn't care. And then I saw the other side of the conversation, and we're going to get into both of those, okay? So as you guys are seeing on your screen here, you are seeing some of the comments here. It's like, how people are handling this phone call, okay? Or how the dispatch handled the phone call. But I also want to show you the other side of that, because I also think that it's important to get the other side. Someone said, the 911 operator can't be too emotionally involved because they have to keep calm and keep the caller calm to get information to help. And at the end of the day, she will still have to hang up and help somebody else. They can't just sit and wait all day. And that was kind of what the conversation, I feel like these comments reflect the conversation that was happening down below in my comments on the Lucci Regine video. And I thought it was a great discussion, guys. I liked how everybody, whether you agreed or you disagreed, the disagreement, even in the disagreement, it was extremely civil. I appreciate it. It didn't get super spicy. It was still a great conversation to have. So I ask you guys, how do you feel about something like this? Because let me say this. I feel like I've had both ends of that, where I've had a 911 dispatch who didn't seem completely like, they gave a damn. And then I had the ones who seemed a bit more professional. But nonetheless, I think it's not as cut and dry as to say, oh, they don't care, they're nonchalant, I don't think it's always as cut and dry as that, because I'm going to guess that this is a very mentally draining job, to take phone calls where people are on the other end are pretty excited, right? Because if they're calling 911, they have to obviously be in an emergency situation, whether they need 911 as far as the police, or they need medical attention, or it's a fire. Nonetheless, I can imagine that those people on the other end their adrenaline is racing, and they're emotional, and you're going to get all kinds of, it's going to run the gamut of scared, angry, you're going to get cussed out. So there's a lot that I can only imagine that a 911 dispatcher must deal with, right? And so after listening to lots of 911 calls, I thought that was pretty mild. I understand that a lot of people didn't necessarily jive with it, and they didn't necessarily think that they cared much about what the woman was saying. From what I could tell, they were just attempting to keep her on the line and get as much information from her so that they could figure out, of course, what's going on while the, police are on the way, right? The police, the paramedics, and everybody are on the way. That is what I'm guessing. All right. And again, I have heard worse calls. They play, you could just go on YouTube and listen to some 911 calls, and you could tell that really wasn't bad. That really wasn't a really bad call. It wasn't at all. And so I can only, like I said, I can imagine that that's a mentally draining job, and that they have to just remain calm. They have to remain calm. And as you can see, she was very excited, as she should be. She just witnessed something very traumatic. And like I said, a lot of people felt like the operator just wasn't doing enough. Now, I want you to take a look at this. I think this woman's name is Deborah Stevens, and this happened in Arkansas a couple years back. And you might recall that this woman drowned in her vehicle. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys watch this little clip and how this 911 operator handled this call, because this one was rude. Okay.
As Deborah Stevens' SUV filled with water, she made a frantic call to 911.
I'm gonna die. It's all the way up to my windows. I'm gonna die.
But her desperation didn't seem to make any difference to the dispatcher on the other end of the call.
Somebody get me out before I die. I'm sorry.
You're not gonna die. I don't know why you're freaking out.
The Fort Smith, Arkansas woman was delivering newspapers last week when she told dispatcher Donna Renault she was swept away in flash floodwaters. She couldn't swim.
I'm scared. I've never had anything like this happen to me before.
Well, this will teach you next time. Don't drive in the water.
Couldn't see it, ma'am. I'm sorry, or I wouldn't have.
I don't see how you didn't see it. You had to go right over it, so.
It took 12 minutes for first responders to arrive, but they couldn't locate her vehicle.
You're gonna need a boat!
As onlookers watched her SUV fill with water,
More to the left and farther back a little bit.
Stevens' pleas became more dire.
These people are out. They can all see me. They're all standing out there watching.
Miss Debbie, you're going to have to shut up, okay? I need you to
I'm
listen.
sorry.
Listen to me.
Stevens drowned before emergency crews could get to her vehicle. Police called the dispatcher's response uncaring, but stopped short of saying she did anything wrong.
She did nothing criminally wrong. I'm not even going to go so far as to she violated policy.
It was that dispatcher's last day after 6 years on the job, but not because she was fired, because she had already resigned before that call came in. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, New York.
Now, talk about rude. That 911 dispatch was rude. And the way that this whole thing ended, after it was investigated and that woman was investigated, they found that she did nothing wrong, believe it or not. She was not held liable for how she treated that dying woman who ultimately drowned in her car. They didn't even find her liable. They said that although she was rude, she didn't violate any company policies, and she still, at the end of the day, did her job. Now, you heard how she was speaking to that dying, drowning woman. So that is rude. What I witnessed on that phone call between that witness and the Atlanta 911 dispatcher does not compare to what we just witnessed here. And as I stated before, in which a lot of you also stated, I honestly see both sides. I can understand why some people found her tone off-putting, right? The 911 dispatch tone off-putting, how, when the woman first called, she got connected to somebody else, the woman immediately. Well, they're just doing their jobs, ultimately, if you think about it. They're really just kind of doing their jobs, and they cannot get emotionally attached. They have to remain calm at all times, all right? They have to remain calm, because if they get excited, and you're excited, nothing gets done. They can't get excited. And I can imagine that how, like I said, anybody that's in healthcare, anybody that's on 911, what it does to you mentally, it's just mentally draining. It's just mentally draining. So I just want to continue this conversation with you guys, because I saw it, like I said, I saw it brewing underneath my comments, and I thought it was worth continuing. How do you guys feel about that? If you didn't see the discussion underneath my Regine video, that's okay. But I certainly wanted to continue the conversation, because, like I said, a lot of people all over the blogs thought that the 911 dispatch was rude to her. But as I've stated, I just feel like they have to remain calm. They have to be neutral, and they have to remain calm and get as much information out of you as they possibly can, so that they can help. I remember when my father passed away at home, at my house, and the 911 dispatch was on me and with me, and I forgot all my CPR skills. Everything went out the window. And she was on the phone with me, and she stayed on the phone with me. And luckily, I live like 2 blocks away from a firehouse. So she literally stayed on the phone with me, just talking me through and talking to me. And before I knew it, the paramedics had showed up at my door. They were already here. And I am grateful that she actually kept me calm, because I was crying and I was hysterical. But she couldn't get hysterical with me. And even if I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know, she still remained calm and neutral, because they have to. But imagine all the shit that they probably go home with, and all the stuff that they have on their brain about the stuff that they heard all day. And I'm just trying to give you a different perspective as what they probably deal with emotionally as well, right? Whether you're in healthcare or dispatch, I'm sure they deal with a lot of emotion. So I just wanted to touch base with you guys and continue this conversation, and let me know what you guys think about that phone call. Do you think the 911 dispatch was rude? Do you think that they were just doing their job and that's what they're supposed to do? Let's keep this conversation going. As always, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and like, comment, share, and I'll see you on the next video, guys. Bye.